Howdy everyone, my name's Aaron. Thank you for coming back to my channel. Tonight, or today, I'm going to do a little playthrough and then a review after I'm done with the playthrough of this little game I came across called Neon City Overdrive by Nathan Russel. It's a narrative game with a very simple, very streamlined mechanics, uh, yet enough character depth to make it very interesting and fun to play. I've played around with it some, um, but I'm going to run through, make a character, and do a follow a simple campaign creation tool that comes with the book and go over. I've only got the PDF via drive-through-rpg.com. I'll put the link to it down in the bottom. I'm not an affiliate link, so if you have another YouTuber or somebody that is an affiliate link that you follow, go ahead and hop over there and click on their link, and then look for Neon City Overdrive. Help a brother out or a sister. Um, I found Neon City Overdrive. I pretty much got over my cyberpunk infatuation earlier. I enjoyed 2077, warts and all. I thought it was pretty fun. And I've played cyberpunk role-playing games in the past. Um, and I looked at this one among the different settings I was looking at. The Interface Zero for Savage Worlds, um, Cyberpunk 2020, and the different ones, the Sprawl, ones a lot of new ones that I hadn't really heard of before, back in my old grognard days of gaming, and this one kept coming up as one to look at. At that time, I was not really doing the narrative game thing, as I've mentioned on other of my videos. On the spectrum, on the gamer spectrum, I am definitely lean towards the simulationist. Um, but after getting involved in Ironsworn, which is powered by the Apocalypse type, uh, I started investigating other games, and it was not actually looking for cyberpunk that brought me back around to Neon City Overdrive. Nathan Russel has an old game called Foo for Freeform Universal, and I really liked the mechanics of that. Very, very simple, very slick, and I liked the way it worked. And then he came out with version 2, which I came across that recently. And this game is an expansion of that Freeform Universal 1 and 2 that incorporates a lot of the stuff that I had thought would be kind of cool to put in there. Um, so I kind of hemmed and hawed about getting it for a while because I've been buying a bunch of games lately. So, uh, but I went and got the PDF, which is relatively cheap, at $10, and it's about the perfect size. But I'll get the review done. But the game system presented here I really like, and if you combine it with a recent one that Nathan Russell also uh, put out called Dungeon Crawlers, and it's kind of it's a pared down version, but it's this Fu 2 setting, but it's Dungeon Crawler instead, and so it has a couple little tweaks in it that I may actually rob for this go through. But let's go ahead and get started. I will try not to stumble too much on it. I have read through it, and like I said, I've played it. So I'm going to run through a solo campaign, a short solo campaign. It'll essentially just be one adventure to let you see what's involved. And I'm going to use my Game Master's Assistant deck by Larcenous Designs, which is basically it's a deck of oracles. If you don't know what an oracle is, it's a table and I'll be using a table that answers questions. I'll be using these cards because I like them. They're flashy. This is the sci-fi version, and you don't have to flip through from one table to another. And since I usually have these around when I am doing a solo game. I have an Ironsworn solo campaign that I'm running over there on the other side. Um, but an oracle, you ask it a question, usually yes or no question, um, and the question needs to be, actionable, relevant, something that you might ask a game master, right? Is there someone behind the door? Can I pick the lock? That kind of stuff. And without going all over everything that's on the card, you may not can read that. Let me over down here. Yeah, whatever. It's got a lot of information. It has things that you might hear there, prompts, things like that, and it has this oracle, which is a yes/no chart, basically. But I'll be using that for the campaign to answer questions and help guide me along. There are things in the book that will come across. I'm going to try to use that as much as possible, but all right. So the first thing, we're going to head over to the basics, and the game uses a dice pool system, and basically every trait. Your character is very simple. It's just a list of traits basically that you come up that you think fit that character. The traits, for every applicable trait you have for a test, you roll 1d6. If there is something negative, then you have what they call a danger die, and it hinders your pool. It kind of cancels out your pool. Um, and really, so it's just really that simple. Um, and here's the printout of the first thing you do. Visualize the cyberpunk. Choose 3 trademarks. These trademarks are fundamental things about your character: their background, their role in society, where they grew up, their job, things like that. Pick 4 triggers to become edges, and that's basically a trigger is just a list of suggested edges, and once you pick it, it goes from being a trigger to an edge that is tied to one of your trademarks. It comes with setting specific or setting influenced anyway trademarks and lists of edges that you can pick from. Write 2 flaws for your character, because of course, if you're cyberpunk, you probably got something going on. And choose a randomly determined drive for your character. We're going to randomly determine that one just so we can use the game rules and everything. And then equipment and all that stuff. We'll get to that. Now I have kind of thought about the character that I like, mostly so you won't have to sit and watch me fiddle fart and decide what I want to do. So the first thing that we start with are our trademarks. We have a list of backgrounds and possible negatives. That's what the negative dice there. Those are just when you have to pick 2 faults, and so each one of these backgrounds comes with some of those. Okay. And this is the cool part. I like create your own trademarks because it's really easy. In fact, I'm going to create one for this when I'm doing it. But you pick the trademark, whether it's a background, a role, a skin, which I'm not exactly sure what the skin is. I don't know if that means like you're an android or if you're some kind of like a bioroid. Kind of what I'm thinking, some kind of genetic modification package, or maybe to if people want to incorporate that carbon 2185 where they slip in and out of skins. And this setting does have those cloud chips or dream chips or something like that. And then some are just advantages, and then the cyberware. That's that's the cyber game or cyberpunks. That's the cyberware. These are different things that you can use. Those are your edges, and then the two flaws. Okay, so I'm going to skip over here to this uh, sheet that I made. Okay, and hopefully it will work all right. I'm just going to select a name from my cards here. Tatenda. Hey, that sounds cool. Uh, my recorder doesn't like when I type sometimes, so if it gets a little jerky, I apologize. I'll cut the deck. Nikosana. Gnoksana. Gnoksana. Alright. Now, the first trademark, I'm going to police detective as one of his trademarks. And the third one, how many we're supposed to pick? Let me verify. Okay, yeah, 3 trademarks and 4 edges. All right, just wanted to make sure. And the other trademark, I think I'm going to have him. I'm going to have him be wired. I like that. That's kind of a it's a cyberpunky thing. So he's going to have his next trademark is going to be cyberware, and okay, it'll be wired. Wired will actually be the trademark itself. All right. Wired, I'm going to give him, I'm going to say that's reflexes. He has wired reflexes, so he's very fast. Police detective, I'm going to say good cop, bad cop. And that will give him bonuses on like asking questions, interrogations, and doing his investigations involving people, and maybe some general persuasion, charisma type roles, because he can be the good cop or he can be the bad cop. Right? And he knows the story. So anything that comes down to finding something out where someone's at, maybe trying to find a place to hide or where someone's safe house might be, things like that will be that. His flaws, I'm going to make one of his flaws that he drinks too much, and the other one is that he's corrupt. Okay, now I don't want anyone to take this as, and this is not some kind of anti-police stance or, or anything like this. I'm going for like I said, the film noir cop thing, and I thought because I am going to run through a short campaign uh, and use try to get to the end where he tries to retire. I figured the corruption would be kind of a good storyline. He's trying to escape. He's trying to get out. One of the reasons he's trying to get out. Okay, everyone starts with a default of 3 stunt points. And the stunt points are, like any other kind of meta currency. You can use them to re-rolls, you can use them to soak damage, things like that. For those people who are familiar with role-playing games, hits are basically injury levels or hit points. Conditions, these are tags. the term tags is general for anything that's a descriptor, whether it's for a scene. You could be in an alley, and the tags for that alley might be dark or wet or trash filled. Those are tags. Those tags are things that you can use to your advantage, or the game master could use against you. If you're trying to run fast and the floor in the alley is slippery, then that will make things harder for you. These conditions are usually applied to you from situations. So now you might get angry. If he gets corrupt, if he gets accused of something and he's trying to plead his case, and someone just keeps nagging at him and picking at him, pointing out his faults or whatever, he'll get angry, and then that condition will act as a negative for anything social, right? um, I guess you could even, for some of them angry, you might use it as a benefit. You might use it. You might be able to talk your game master into saying, well, he's angry, so that'll help him with playing the bad cop, right? Or he's so angry, he'll give him the little extra boost to climb up over the wall to catch the bad guy, something like that. But they're pretty self-explanatory. Scared, dazed, exhausted. These are all conditions that affect your dice pool negatively. Traumas are the same, but they're more permanent. You're angry, you calm down. Trauma is something that when you get injured severely, you get a bullet that shatters you take a rifle bullet to the knee or something like that. Your knee gets shattered, and those are a lot more uh, difficult to get rid of. All right, so the next, we'll just go down the checklist here. All right, edges, flaws, we've done that. Drives. Okay, our next thing is our drive. This is what keeps you going. This is, you really could pick one of these, but I'm going to go ahead and use the chart in the book just to use it. Get my dice pool out of the way here. There are online dice rollers, but like I said in my other videos, I like to roll this. So, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll just, okay, 4. So vengeance. 2. Prove my worth to Warren Falstaff. All right. We don't know who Warren Falstaff is, but that's part of the story. If I were going to be doing a longer campaign, then that would definitely be one of the reoccurring themes to use for the drive. So I come over here, and come over here to self, Falstaff. Like I said, don't know who it is. We'll find out. That's part of the one of the rules of playing a narrative game is you find out the story together. I'm not going to go and write the big long history or whatever about who this Warren Falstaff is, or why even I want to prove myself to him. Maybe I want to prove myself innocent of something. Maybe I want to prove myself that I'm to Warren, that maybe he's a good friend. I'm trying to prove to him that even though I did have an issue where I was corrupted in the past, maybe took a bribe or whatever, maybe I'm over that and I'm still a good guy. There's no telling. Maybe Warren Wallstaff's some big CEO, and I'm trying to prove myself to him so that I can get out of this, rinky-dink police outfit and go work for the big guys, or get up to orbit or whatever. But that's the drive. That's the point of the drive. Okay, and this describes the drive track. Basically, as the story progresses, when good things happen, you mark it with an X or a cross, uh, meaning that you failed that. And by the end, of your campaign, it comes a point where you can't fill any more up. You roll the dice with the pluses being your good, and then the negatives taking away from that. Now I'll explain how that works later. Um, okay, in this, gear is very generic. It has what it describes it, is giving permission, if you to do things basically. If you have a gun, you can shoot at someone who's in a different zone, who's farther away. If you have a knife, you can use it on somebody who's close. If you have a car, that kind of stuff. Um, each character starts with basic reasonable gear. Each mission, you also get 4 pieces of specialized gear, or up to 4 pieces of specialized gear. Okay. In each piece of gear, the more you trick it out, the less chance of you actually getting it. And these special pieces of gear, they're supposed to go away at the end, right? You got it on loan from somebody for this special mission, or something along those lines. So I'm going to come over, and we're going to gear. I'm going to say we've got our radio. Your basic stuff is the basic stuff. They don't necessarily have any special tags. I've got my radio, badge, um, and then forensic kit, car. I'm going to give it sensors, bulletproof. Of course, it's not really going to be bulletproof. It's not going to be bulletproof, indestructible, but as a tag. I probably shouldn't have written those down. So the way the special gear works, you want it, you select the 4 items that are reasonable for what you have, being a cop, having that flying police car. It's going to be fine. Now, I have to roll the number of tags. The gear roll, let's see. Let me double check that. Each character also has 4 items special gear. Declares how many tags it has, then roll die 6. The roll is equal to or greater than the number of tags. All right, and you can re-roll for stuff, like if you really want it, and there are also things you can do to increase your roll, but I'm just going to try that. So I need a 3 or higher. All right. So 1 roll failed. 2 roll fails. Good grief. Okay. All right. So forget that. Instead, I want a pistol with 2 tags. Give me a 2. All right. Yeah, there we go. All right. So apparently my my flying police car that I really wanted is in the shop. So as a cop, I do have my service pistol, but we'll say for this mission, I need let's say a heavy. Here's actually on in the book. Yeah, in the book it has a suggestion: combat weapons, ranged weapons, accurate area of fire, armor piercing. I'm going to say explosive rounds, just in case. Say he's like a Blade Runner type guy, and so instead of armor piercing, we'll say explosive and accurate. We'll say it's an accurate. It's a nice gun. I flipped all my other rolls. I guess it's a good time to get out of the system. and we can round out, sure, just to do it. Let's see. See, he's got a nickname here or not. The white and the dark. 2 and 1. Baller? No. Artemis. 2 and 1. Yeah, I'll take, sure. Why not? We'll go with Artemis as a nickname. Lifestyle. And just because, we'll do affectations. We'll see what he's doing here. Alright, 3 and 1. Bad habit. Okay. He's got a bad habit, so we'll say, no. Talks with mouth. I'm going to hit pause and go see what kawaii style is. I thought it was like an anime drawing style, but I'm going to go double check. So yes, I'm back. Apparently kawaii is like a cutesy Japanese style, so I guess Tatenda no Kusana, aka Artemis, has his trench coat is, I guess, maybe covered with little funny anime bunnies and cutesy things like that instead. Maybe his fedora, it may be worn, but it has a some little smiling sushi thing or something on the front of it, or all the way around the band. So there we go. It's for the sake of the game, or for this playthrough. I'll let it stand. I would not if I were playing him myself. Okay. And then a quick stunt points and hit track, explain those things, basic stuff. And this part of the book talks about time, jobs, uh, things like that, setting up the scenes and the turns. We're not, um, I'm not going to go through all that stuff, but whenever you're whenever you're doing a check, it's a dice pool. Anything that reasonably adds, you get a die for. You always start with one base die, and then you add one trademark, only one trademark. You can spend a stunt point to pull in another die for another from a different trademark, and then any edge from anywhere that would apply, even if it is from another trademark. The edges are okay. At least that's how I'm interpreting one of the answers he gave to a question on Drive-Thru RPG. And then the GM, or in this case me, I'm going to set the negative dice. All right. Anything that I get is going to, whatever the negative die matches, it cancels out. All right. So 6 is the best. You get everything you want and something else. 4 or 5, you do what you want, but there might maybe not as good as you wanted, or there might be some kind of temporary effect, like, you punched him, you hit him, but maybe he slapped you back, or you punched him and you did the damage, but you hurt your knuckles on his cyberpunk face, or something like that. And there are different conditions and things, and the game does a good job explaining those things. One of the differences between, like, in a situation from coming from a simulationist view, I like my checklists, I like my tables. In the narrative view, if you get a negative effect, it's not always just about losing your hit points. Sometimes, and it's not even about always being, the same with everybody. One guy may fail, one character may fail theirs. Maybe they do get a hit, maybe the GM or the solo GM decides that person gets hit in the next one. He may get hit and maybe he gets tangled up in something. He gets thrown into a wall that has a bunch of fishing nets on it. Now he has a temporary thing of being tangled up until he can get out. Okay. Uh, and the other thing, this is a player-facing game, so only the player, in this case, moi, will roll the die. The GM never rolls the die. He just describes what happens, and the players always describe what they're doing, and then they roll to see what they do. That's basically, you use the fiction, decide what you're going to do, describe what you're going to do, roll the dice, and then work the fiction into that result. You may want to leap over the building in a single bound, but if you get a crappy roll, instead you plant face first on the third floor and shock a bunch of board members. Okay. Um, yeah, these are boons. If you roll double six, multiple sixes, you can add those things. Okay. And these are going into the combat. And the way the combat works, or any kind of like opposed roll, one side starts with initiative, and then it goes back and forth. Okay. I roll die 6 at the start of each turn. 1 through 3, the enemy. 4, 5, 6, the player gets it. The player describes his attack, and if he wins, he hits, and then the character, or then the GM decides what the bad guy does in return, and then the player describes his actions. I think in some of those it's okay to just say, well, he swings and whatnot, but you do want to add some detail, and just like maybe a sentence. I duck to the side and I level my pistol and I squeeze off a couple rounds, right? Um, and work through that way. Um, one mechanic I think that I will uh, probably it'll think about anyway is, instead of having like a you go I go, just like one roll. There's a task and you roll good and bad things happen. In the FU, the original one, that was actually, it was a range of things that happened for every task. Yes and yes but, and then no and, or no but, no, and no and. So basically, if you were trying to jump across the pit, that die determined, you know, what uh, what happened, and it kind of gave a guide. And this game does do that too. It's just not quite as spelled out. But I think it might be worth, well, my time anyway, coming up with a way to where combat is reduced down to one roll each round. But not today. I'm just going to do it as it's described. The grid is what it calls. I'm not going to do any cyber fighting or anything like that this time around. Some more, not really metagame stuff, but there's downtime and leverage. These are things you use to get things in between the missions, to heal, to replenish, uh, whatnot. And then retirement. This is the ultimate goal of your character, and this will set up sort of mid-range campaigns, really, because your goal is to retire. I think you could easily just take it out and maybe bring it in close to when you're tired of maybe playing the character. You think it's time to move on to another campaign or another character, to get them named to retire, just so you can have a longer campaign if you want. Because as written, it's designed to kind of be limited to a middle campaign, which is not really a bad idea, because it kind of forces you to go through different characters, tell different stories. But I already explained how that works. Okay, a lot of good GM advice, and I'm going to just kind of scroll down. I'm gonna make one adventure using their system here. Okay, these are how the enemies are written up. It gives you the hits, what they want. basically a 5 and a 6. If you succeed 4, 5, or 6, they get a hit. You can use a boon to get a extra hit sometimes, or apply a condition to that person. These are tags, things that they do, and actions. There's no set specific rules for them. They're just giving a description of what this kind of opponent might do. All right. All right, jobs. I'm just going to make a simple job, and we're going to play it like this is his last job. He's corrupt. He got caught. He's trying to impress this Warren Flanders or Flanagan or Warren Falstaff, trying to impress him on his way out the door, because maybe charges. Um, uh, okay, I'm going to use my Oracle. Is Warren Falstaff, does he want a job with Warren Falstaff? Okay. All right, no. Is Warren Falstaff the one who's prosecuting him? Yes. All right, so he's trying to get on Warren Falstaff's good side. He's maybe a district attorney, or in cyberpunk world, maybe he's a corporate assassin who's going to take my guy out because he was a corrupt cop. All right, start with a cool idea. Keep it simple. Um, these are our job generators. Okay. My deck actually has a catalyst, like this one says, witness to a cover up. So that would be a good one for a cop, right, too. But because I want to use the system, I'm going to write this down old school, and just so I don't have to keep flipping back between the screens. All right, so our cop is blackmailed. Okay, well, that works, right? He's corrupt. Someone's caught him. So maybe it's this Falstaff guy. The Falstaff guy, he's blackmailing him to do something, or else he's going to face criminal time. And so this is his last job before he gets off the force. If he works this job properly, if he gets this Falstaff guy the job, what he wants, he's been promised he'll let go, charges will be dropped, he can retire and go blank off into the alleyways of Neon City. So he's being blackmailed to investigate or infiltrate a 5. Okay, so he's to some data. Research evidence. Okay, so he's trying to get some dirt on Warren Falstaff. He's trying to retrieve it. So he has to infiltrate some place to retrieve damaging info. On this Warren guy. And if maybe it's videos of him doing the nasty with some kind of cleaning robot. Okay, but he is opposed by 3. Ooh, a rogue AI. And maybe it was the rogue AI. But Warren Falstaff's probably as corrupt as anybody else. Probably more corrupt than my guy, because he's the hero. He has a redemption arc, hopefully. But this rogue AI somehow got this dirt on Warren Falstaff. Warren may not even know that's who it is. So rogue AI and 2 mercenaries. Okay. And this is more This is more. This is stuff on locations. Um, so I'm just going to go through and make some quick scenes using this information, and maybe 3 scenes, things that will kind of not just combat scenes, but things that will kind of show how Neon City Overdrive works. So I will be right back. All right, so I came up with the first scene as he gets as he's sitting eating his noodles on the side of the street, aka like Blade Runner. Um, he gets a call uh, on his uh, phone and or his headset or whatever. It's calling his headset from a representative of Warren Falstaff, not directly, of course, but this intern tells him that Warren is willing to work with him if he will use his unique police skills to help him retrieve some falsified data that someone is threatening to release to important people. Um, well, uh, our hero knows what Artemis knows where his bread is buttered. He's been caught. He knows it, and he's just waiting for their shoe to drop. So he eagerly snaps up this offer in hopes of saving what he might have left of his career, or at least getting out of the career without going to jail. And that's really his thing. He's tired of the streets. He's tired of the crime. He's tired of everything that has to do with this job. He just wants to be able to leave and go retire into some rat nest where in the Warrens where people just leave him alone. All right, so he is told. Um, he asks if he has any leads, and he's told that the data was stolen by a hacker named Ice Girl, aka Leah Agni, and he downloads a quick police file on the girl. It's a young uh, girl. She'd be pretty if she, got rid of her glowing face tattoos and crazy dental work and got rid of her unibrow. Uh, and she has a long record, and he tells her that she lives over in the Dario tenements. So uh, I'm still trying to fight that habit of saying so all the time. Artemis uh, walks because he did not get his flying police car, which is in the shop. Try not to be bitter about that for this game. But Tatenda, his friends call him Tat. So Tat tugs on his bunny hat and his bunny jacket and steps out into the rain slick night. He gets over to the Dario tenement, and it's just a humongous building. It's just a humongous slum, and it is packed and crowded, and it stinks. Um, this as a scene setting, I've given it the tags of filthy, crowded, and full of gangers. Okay, so those are things that might come up. So what he's going to do is he has one of his trademarks is that um, he knows the streets. He's a metroplexer, so he knows the streets. So he is going to try to find her using his contacts, using some of his contacts that he might have. He's going to look for any kind of signs of, maybe external hacking gear, something that he can look at. But he's going to um, he's going to find the right kind of people who might know this ice girl as he walks inside. So he's going to start with a base die, and we'll give him, you get one die for the trademark as well that you want to apply. In this case, he's going to apply Metroplexer. He knows the streets, and he's going to do good cop, bad cop. Okay. Oh, and just for full disclosure, I went back and I meant to add this trench coat, not as special gear, just regular, police issue, and his service pistol. Um, and I'm going to say that because there's gangers, they're, they razz him, and they glare at people who act like maybe they'll talk to him or be friendly. So I'm going to add that in there. And I'm going to add another one just because it's such a huge tenement. Okay, and just so I can get the story rolling and use the mechanics, I'm going to use a stunt point, which will give me one extra die. I'm going to use it ahead of time to get the die. So the white dice are my negative dice. They are the ones that cancel out my good dice. Right now I'm trying to find Ice Girl in this tenement. Okay. Oof. All right. So I would have got a 6 with a boon, which means I would have been able to apply an extra condition. Like, not only did I find her, but I surprised her. Or I find her and she turned out to be a contact or someone I worked with before under a different alias or something like that. But my negative die, one's a 6. It cancels out one of my 6s. The other one cancels out the 5. But I got a 6, so that means that I got what I wanted all the way. So I managed to find some street urchins. They're running around. They look like the kind of kids who are constantly stealing equipment and trying to pawn it off to people. And he suspects that maybe this ice girl, Leah, is someone who buys equipment from them. So he gives them a brief description, a handful of new bucks or whatever they use for currency, and one of them leads them right to the apartment that Ice Girl is in. And the kids are, some of the gangers give them dirty looks. I'll get you, boy. And the kids just flip them off and laugh at them and carry on. But none of the gangers interfere. They just scowl. Uh, so Tat gets up to the apartment, pounds on the door, and well, first he listens. He doesn't see anything or hear anything that's going on. He looks for any kind of traps. Obviously, there's some kind of camera somewhere because there's cameras everywhere. So he's going to knock on the door. She's going to ignore it, and he's going to say, "I know you're in there. I know you're in there. Open up, Ice. Open up." Knowing that he flashes his badge. He says, "Look, I'm not here with anybody else. I just want to talk." And she opens the door and lets him in. Well, she opens the door enough, and he sort of forces his way in and says, "Thank you. Now look, I know that you were working with this, working on some data for Warren. Uh, I'm kind of here to settle that because he's not really one that wants to be blackmailed, and so he's going to try to intimidate her a little bit. He's going to play the police and everything else. So I'm going to make that also a task. I'm going to use the uh, police detective, good cop, bad cop. Yeah, maybe we'll use a little. I'll let him use a little trigger happy, like maybe he just kind of leans so that the butt of his heavy pistol is hanging out. Um, and I'll give him a nose to the streets. He knows how to talk to people like this on the Metroplexer, and she doesn't want any trouble, but she's a smart ass, so I'm gonna give one die for there. So he is one negative die. I mean, so he's trying to convince her to spill the beans. He wants the information. What the contact told him is that she has it. Okay. All right, another 6. So he's doing all right. Um, oh, by the way, there's the opposite of the boon is called a botch, and if all of your task dice get canceled out by all of the by negative dice, that's a botch. Or if the only dice you have left after everything else is canceled are ones, then that's a botch. And then so a botch is extra is bring the pain. Um, so she looks at him, she laughs and says, "I I didn't actually take it. Someone hired me to do it. I oh, I didn't have anything to do with it. I was just well, I'd had something to do with it, but I was not the buyer. I was just a way to get in." Um, let's see. Did the file? Okay, I'm gonna use my oracle. I'm gonna see if Warren, if the police, if the file had anything about this AI, or if this rogue AI is like in the background. Um, I'm going to say it's a good chance that the AI is in the background, and she has probably just dealt with the mercenaries. So, um, is the AI still a secret? Oh, no. No with an exclamation point. So they know this AI. So, um, so it's in the file. They know the AI is working. She knows she's working for this AI. So this AI must, that know with the exclamation point, that means really, really know. So he's probably famous. He's probably he's a AI cyber terrorist. Um, and his name is Hisham. Hisham, the AI cyber terrorist. Terrorist. Okay, like I said, that's in the record, so they all know. Um, but I know that you didn't do it. I want the AI. We know that he's the one that set you up to it. You must know where he's at. He moves around the city like a light bulb. He can go anywhere he wants. How am I supposed to know where he's at? Well, you know his port address. You know how to contact him. You can get into the grid, right? Well, I could, but you know what he'd do to me? Just fry my brain with some black ice. He's not someone that I'm going to mess around with. I'm not scared of you uh, or this Warren character. Well, how about if I take you downtown and I hook you up to him? And she doesn't like that idea, but he did get a 6 on his intimidation, so he pulls it off. He pulls the bad cop off. Um, you know the score. You're little people. I take you downtown. I hook you up to the grid personally, and I type in, "Hi, I'm here talking to the cops." Hisham is going to come down. He's going to ice you right in the middle of my interrogation room. But you know what? I'll have a trace on him. So you can either give me the trace now or we can go downtown. Okay, all right, already. Jeez. And she starts packing up. She starts grabbing her stuff, packing up her cyber deck or whatever, and some clothes, uh, and says, "Well, I'm getting out of here. All right. What you need to do is you need to head down to the," and I'm just gonna generate another random location. I'll go back to this here. Random location 1, 2. I use this crowded tenement as a random location for this scene. Okay. the random tenement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Uptown. Alright. So he needs to go uptown or to a security control room. Alright. If you really want to get there, then you need to go up to a random name here. That sounds good. Bile Towers and get into their security room. That's where Hisham is running all of his connections through, and he's got. I tell you what, and all those guards up there work for him too. All right, they're all. Some of them work for them, but they don't know. A lot of those guys are mercenaries, and they work for the AI directly. All right, so if you go up there, they're gonna put a gun in your head. Yeah, I don't care. You deserve it. So Uptown Bile Tower security room. And just then, someone bursts in the room. A masked man, a masked cyber dude, and he's got a big old gun, and he's trying to gun them all down. And uh, Tat's reaction is he's going to pull his own big gun, push the girl out of the way, and try to get the drop on him. All right. So this is going to be, since that guy jumped in, I'm going to give him Tat a task to go first because he wants to go first. They're trying to get the drop on him. So to see if he can react in time and make sure that this guy doesn't get like a free round or a free doesn't kill him out, doesn't kill him. Where are we at? All right, so our base dive, and we're gonna go with the police detective. So he's kind of always on the lookout. Trigger happy, and then I'm going to pull reflexes from his wired. And let's see, is there anything from his gear? I don't think for this part. This is just to see if he's going to be able to get the drop on. I'm going to give the other guy 1 die for his surprise and 1 die because he's kind of he's some kind of an experienced assassin. So can Tat get ready and push the girl out of the way and stay in combat? Okay. All right. So he definitely does, and I'm going to actually, because he got that 6, I'm going to say that Tat shot first. I'm going to find, no, my bookmarks disappeared. That's all right. I'm going to find some PCs here. Threats. Not a bad, let's see. Not a chopper, a cyber brute. Maybe not a cyber brute. Maybe a heavy grinder. Oh, no. Okay. We're just going to use mercenary. Okay. Because that's who we determined earlier is working for this AI, Hisham, is mercenaries. So this guy's mercenary. So again, Tat's gonna get the drop on him. He's gonna try to blast him. 1 base die, 1 police, 1 trigger happy, 1 for wide reflexes, and I'm gonna give him 1 for his pistol. He's going to get, well, it's accurate. Well, it's accurate, and it's got the exploding bullet. So if it hits him, it's going to stop. Let's see. And for what I'm going to do is I'm just basically kind of assign some negative tags based on the level of the threat. So I'm going to give him trained killer, cyber eyes, and a tactician. I'll make it interesting. Let me gather all my dice together here. Oh, all right. So his die cancels out that and that. So I'm left with a boon. So that means, let's stop with that. So that means that he gets a hit because he succeeded, and then the boon, I'm just going to apply it that he's just going to go straight to the damage. If you can make the bosses, when they run out of hits, you can make them be like the character to where they suffer trauma and everything. But in this case, I think as the mercenary busts in, he looks to find the target, and Tat, with his wired reflexes, shoves her out of the way and draws his heavy pistol in one blow, or in one move, and he puts an exploding round right in that guy's cyber face. Boom! And his cyber eyes go flying in two different directions, and the mercenary falls onto his knees, drops his pistol on the ground, and then falls forward onto his sparking, bleeding face. Ice Girl looks at the mercenary and then looks at him and says, "Oh my God, it's too late! It's too late!" She grabs her bag. She looks out the door, and she just runs down the hallway and out of sight. And Tat lets her go because he's got the information he needs. He looks on the body, doesn't find much useful information anyway. Just the actually, he might find some information as he searches. I'll give him 3 dice. We'll see if he finds information. Well, if it's there. I'm going to return to my oracles, because this is something that I would ask my GM. You know, if I search this guy, are there any clues? Can I verify that this guy is, you know, from this Bile Towers place uptown? Okay, and I'm going to say that's even, just because, and that's a yes plus. So this guy is not only from Bile Towers, he he has on him, there's a digital player that the data is encrypted. He can't read it, but the data case is from Bile Towers, and it says security department on it. So that's definitely where he needs to go. And in fact, he's going to do that. So the next scene, he's going to be going to Bile Towers, and we're going to give that swanky, well protected, and not clean, but I already used swanky. Let's see if it gives a. Let's try to see if I can find the thing. PDFs are really cool to be able to flip through and stuff, but man, it really, I just really love. I just prefer having a book. Uh, where was that at? Not locations. Okay. Uptown. Okay, luxurious. Um, okay, I've well protected, so that means it has not only the guards but also has cameras and stuff. Um, we'll say it's well lit, just because it is kind of swanky. So the next scene, he's going to go over his goal to is to get in, because he has to get up to the security room. And he has to get up to the security room, but he also has the advantage of being a policeman. So he does have some authority, but in this world of big corps and the corporations and the rogue AI is probably not all that impressed with police. But he needs to try to get in without necessarily, he doesn't want to start some kind of, even though one of tags is trigger happy, he doesn't want to get into some kind of big fight, at least out in the open like this, in front of the building. So he takes a regular patrol car, gets one of the regular non-flying patrol cars to take him uptown. And in Neon City, there's it's always busy, it's always bustling, 24/7. So he finds the Bile Towers is open. It's a nice swanky place. He walks in. The guard at the door, is well dressed in his cut suit and obviously cybernetically enhanced eyes, is scanning him up and down. Uh, Tat pulls out his badge and says NCPD. And so he's going to try to good cop, bad cop his way through, using his, because he does have some kind of authority. And I added, a lot of times, just because I like looking at the inspiration, I added my little guy here. I meant to pull him out earlier, but I forgot. He's sci-fi. He's the only guy I got that's got a trench coat, and that would have been a good one for the hacker. Although all she did was run away after 10 seconds after he shot somebody. So he's going to again try to convince the cop or the guard. So base die, police, good cop, bad cop. And he's not going to go do trigger happy because he's not really in a spot where he can intimidate this guy. He's got too much backup. Um, and the guy the guy listens on his earphone. They probably have they have some kind of subcutaneous communicator, so they can talk without them hearing what's going on. And he nods and he says, Detective, oh, what's his name? Detective Nakosana. How about if Bile Towers gives a large charitable sum to the policeman's ball that you can personally take wherever it needs to go, and then you scram and leave us alone. Well, that's going to tap into his corrupt. Okay, so I'm going to add a negative dice for him being corrupt, because even even if he is not necessarily tempted by it, he's shamed by it. He's either tempted by it and saying, hey, yes, I would love that money, or he is so shamed that he is known to be corrupt. And I'm going to give another die because this person's not scared of him at all, and Bile Towers it's almost like its own little fortress. So let me scoot some of these other dice out of the way so I don't get myself confused. Okay, so all right, so the one negative die was a 6, but it doesn't do anything because none of my dice were a 6. All right, so that goes to the side, and the 3 does as well. So I've got a 5. All right, the 5 is a good roll. So he gets in, and Tat says, "Why don't you take your charitable contribution and shove it up your ass and let me inside before I get the whole squad down here?" The guard rolls his cyber eyes and, "All right, detective, come on in." Now, the 5 is not a perfect hit, or a perfect success, so there is usually a negative cost. And in this case, I'm going to say that the negative cost is that pretty much they all know that he's there. They all know he's there, and he's there alone. And he's pondering his decision to come down here alone and why he didn't get the squad to come help him. We'll say it's for fun reasons. So they assign a pretty young executive assistant who comes up and bows and says, "Yes, detective, how can we help you?" And he pulls out the little data case that has the security room information on it. And he says, "I need to talk to your chief of security, and I need access to your security room." She gets on her little phone and she's chit-chatting, and he's imagining however many people are hooked up to their line chit-chatting too. Big corporations have, dedicated subpoena departments, at least in the modern day today, 2021, to handle these bossy cops. But in Neon City, things are a little different, and they always have to decide whether or not they want to actually fight him and bring a conflict with the police, or agree. Now, he got in, so I'm going to say that they agree to take him up and meet the head of security. "Can I ask what it's about?" "Yeah, I've got some information that your databanks have some information that is being used to try to coerce city officials into into performing actions for them, bribery, blackmail. And this tells me that it's from this building in your security room. So please take me up to your security manager." She listens to her thing and, "Oh, yes, right away, sir." And she takes him onto this elegant elevator. Uh, the walls are smooth. There's not even any control buttons or anything, and he barely even can feel when it rises up. It's such a well, not oiled, but well maintained elevator. And she just smiles pleasantly at him and nods her head every time he glances her way. He's kind of he's looking her up and down a little bit. She's a looker. She's a looker. But he's in enough trouble already. The last thing he needs is some dame to cause him any more trouble. I just thought I'd have to throw that in there for the whole noir thing. The ride up is very quick. He's not even sure what floor they go to, but she escorts him out, leads him to a room, and at the entrance of the door, or at the standing outside the door, that says security. It just says security on it. There's a uh, somewhat heavy set black woman who is with cyber eyes and these glowing stripes on her cheeks. Says, "Can I help you? I hear that you're accusing us of having some information that's being misused. I can assure you that Bile Towers is not involved in any way." And she opens up and lets him in, and she starts to give him the basic tour, the fluff off tour that sounds like she would give to an executive. And he waits until they're kind of by themselves, and he leans in close, and um, he's going to give her the I know you're working. I know who you're working for. I know you're working with Hisham. We all know it. I've got the proof right here. And let's see, is she involved at all? Because I'm thinking that Hisham, even though that hacker girl, Ice Girl, knew that Hisham had mercenaries in this building. Uh, not everyone in the corp in the building might be in on it. Let's see. But she is the security director. I'll give it even odds. Okay, so no, she is not in on it. She said, "Why, I just can't imagine that you would make that kind of accusation. I hope you have some proof, detective." And uh, so he explains a little bit of what happened without giving it away, and he explains how he got this and who he got it from, and he shares a little bit of a little bit of photo of how the security guard that he pulled this from, the mercenary, had attacked them. She pulls him off to the side. She pulls him off to the side, and she starts going through her little digital screens. And that's impossible. I go through this system every day. Every day I go through this system. And what he's trying to do here, really his main goal here is to retrieve the info um, from the AI. The AI itself may not even reside in this building. It could, or copies of it, or whatever. The Ice Girl just said that this is where he kind of tapped into the rest of the network. Um, so as she's looking around, let's see, he's not really a techie as such. I'm gonna have I'm gonna kind of have I'm gonna use him rolling, but her as a benefit as he's trying to find the connection and proof that of the AI. Um, so that's his base die. I'll give the police detective. I'm not gonna give good cop bad cop because uh, he's not trying to convince her. She's already doing it. I'm gonna give one die for her help. And I'm going to give a negative die. I'm going to give 2 negative die for the AI being, well, an AI knowing how to cover up its tracks. All right, so this is to see if they find information. Oh, look at that. All right, oops, so we got a 6. So that's a full access. So she's flipping through, and he's not a techie, but he's been around enough. He says, "Wait, look under that subroutine," and he reaches up and he opens it and digs down because he's tracked hackers before, uh, or at least seen the investigations as people that knew more about hacking than him. He opens a subroutine, and she goes, uh, "Well, by the grid, he is. He's in here. He's in here right now." And then all the cameras, all their lenses turn red, and he's a voice comes over the various speakers and the tinny speakers from the machines and says, "You never should have listened to him, buddy." And it's kind of this digitized, wacky voice, and then suddenly uh, a door at the far end of this long server room busts open, and three mercenaries rush in, and I'll go ahead and I'll use her for the security person, and they get ready, and now the jig is up. Okay, uh, Neon City Overdrive uses basic basic ranges. It's close, which is, you know, you can touch. Near is you could shoot them fairly easily with a pistol. Far is, it would be harder to shoot someone with a pistol, but you could get them with a larger weapon. And far is about how far you could run if you spent your turn running. And then distance, that's way off there. It's almost like in another zone. Some place is going to take a while to get across. You know, that'd be the realm of sniper rifles or whatever. And I'm going to say that this place is big enough that it's far. All right. Now, this being a uh, player facing, meaning that the player's only rolling the dice, instead of using her and making a character for her and keeping track of her hits and everything like that, I'm just going to count her as um, 2 dice, because she is armed, even though she's, you know, kind of the cyber wonk or whatever. Uh, but she also is armed because she is head of security. And unlike the corporate security of today, where the security guy would just call the police, this is Neon City, and it's an overdrive. And you better believe that that security lady is packing heat. All right. So, but because they burst in and they're both getting ready, now I'm going to go ahead and use the initiative roll, or not. So 1 through 3 means that they act. They're at far. Okay. Everyone's using small arms pretty much at this point because they're all inside the building. Well, let me get that later. 1 through 3, they go first. All right. So we go first. My base die. Police detective, trigger happy, and I'm going to give reflexes because he's trying to shoot first as soon as they come through. He's got his big pistol out, and he is using explosive rounds, accurate, and he's got help from her. All right, now I'm going to face that against these guys. I'm going to use I'm going to turn them into a single entity, which will have we'll say five successes I need to get to take care of them. They're all armed and armored. They're at a distance, so that's 4 dice. Well, okay, I've got some extra, a couple extra off dice. They're armed and armored. They busted in, and they're pretty good shots. All right, so I'm going to. They bust in. Tat whips out his pistol, and he's shooting down because he knows what's going on. He knows the AI has called these mercenaries in to gun them down. She, the security lady, she at first she's yelling at them to stop, no, he's with me, and then she kind of realizes what's going on, and she pulls out 2 pistols and starts And they've got submachine guns. They're just spraying down the whole area. So now we're going to have a big dice roll off. And this is fun if you like rolling a lot of dice, which sometimes I do. Alright, I'm going to call that a 3. Alright, 5, 5, 3. Alright, lots of 5s. Okay, there's a 6. 3, 3. Alright, so my highest is a 5. Oh, okay, they've got a 5. Alright, now doubles don't count for anything except the 6s. So, so he's going to get a hit. I'm going to mark that off. So he fires, bam, 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 and they start shooting. They start shooting back. Well, actually, they start shooting. They start shooting, and his explosive rounds are blowing off the servers that are by them, and they all they run in between the servers so that they can get closer and hide from his attacks. Right. So now it's their turn. They're hosing down the whole area. And his defense pool is going to be a little different. Okay, I'm still going to, let's see, I'm going to give him his base die. Police detective reflexes. And I'm going to give him his armored trench coat. And I'm going to give him a die for his explosive rounds. Okay. And I'm going to, because even though they're the ones attacking, he's making a defense roll because he's the player. I'm going to give them a outnumbered die, and to be honest, I might change this every round as I forgot what I thought last round. And give them outnumbered die, auto die, and yeah. So outnumbered, they're firing full auto submachine guns. They've got the cyber eyes type thing. They've got targeted, and they're just tough folks. So we're going to see. So as they come back and they start firing, he's shooting and getting back into cover and defense. Okay. 6. Cancel 6. All right. So that 6 got canceled. And my next highest one is a 5, and there's no canceling 5. All right. If he'd gotten the 6, then he probably would have gotten a shot in on somebody, but instead he's able to keep their head down and stay out of the way and keep them from being hit. Now the next, that was one turn, that was one attack and one defend. All right. So just to speed things along, I'm going to kind of I'm going to set up the dice pools without explaining everything, and then just roll. And right now I'm rolling to see whose turn it is first. Detective, trigger happy, reflexes, accurate, and I'm using a few or less penalty die because they no longer have the advantage of surprise now that the fight's on. Oof. Dang. Look at that. 2 6s and he canceled them both. And it canceled on the 4s. Ooh. That was very close to being a botch. If that 4 had been a 1, then all it would have had left was 1s, and that would have been a botch. Because at this point, every one of the enemy, the negative die, canceled out. 6 and 6, 6 and 6, 4 and 4, 2 and 2. 2 and 2 don't really matter because that fails anyway. But so he does mark. He does get a hit, but I'm going to in reply on their turn. Usually the simplest way is when you get like a butt, or it's just it's not necessarily the best hit, is to give the enemy like an extra die or something, or to give you a penalty. Let's see. Looking back for threats, street threats, they were mercenaries. Okay, never trap you. All right, they're going to remember their mercenary training, and they're going to move up in buddy rushes and close the range, covering each other while they move, kind of forcing his head down. And they're closer. I'm just moving them out of the way so I can roll the dice, because I don't really have enough room to have a cool miniature table and roll on my dice. But they're buddy rushing. They're closing in. They're trying to entrap him and get him in a crossfire. So he will go. Let me figure out his defense. Okay, cop. And I'll still give him trigger happy because he's just blasting away. Reflexes and armored. So I'm just going to give him 4 dice this time because they are maneuvering. And he did get some hits on one. He knows he got something, but they're all still coming. So he's still going to try to keep from getting outmaneuvered by hopping in, in between the servers himself and shooting back. Now she's also there, shooting back too, and I'll give him an extra die for her because she's distracting. She's distracting them. But I'm going to give them a bonus die for their maneuvering because he only got a 4 last time. They're moving as teamwork. Da, da, da. So I'm gonna just even it up straight up. See if he can beat him out. 5 on 5. Okay. So he got a 6. All right. So he managed to hold them off, and he got a 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a hit. One comes around the corner, and the security lady lets out with her 2 pistols, and he ducks off around the corner, not realizing that he's exposed his back to Tat, and Tat puts an explosive round right through his spine, and he falls forward but the two the 2 remaining mercenaries, being professionals, they continue on. So next turn, 1 through 3 them. Okay, so they get to go again. They are down, so they no longer have any kind of advantage over that. For no surprise, no outnumbering anymore. So I'm just going to give them their dice and then their skill dice, and I'm going to give him 4 defense and then 1 extra because they knocked him down. So they're firing as they try to close. Bullets are flying everywhere. Servers are going up and down, and okay. All right, so I'm going to say they got pretty good there. They got sixes, and he got a lot of ones. Now, he didn't botch because he still does have he has non-one rolls, and he did get one minor success. So I'm going to say that he does manage to keep them down, but one of them takes a hit. Oh, hold on. I may have to go back and double check my footage, but I missed this 4. So it looks like um, it was very close to a botch, but it was a fail. So they were not able to um, hold back. So I'm going to say he does take a hit. And she goes down. She goes down, she screams as a hail of bullets flies around her. Um, and so they are still fighting, still shooting back. He's trying to keep them at bay. He's trying to shoot them like whack-a-mole whenever their heads come around the corner. He's trying to catch them with some exploding rounds. Bam, bam, bam. Reload. Drops a mag. Slams a mag back in and continues the fight. But he can't stick his head too far out because they still have these submachine guns. They've got the firepower advantage. Uh, but it's his turn, so he's going to shoot back, try to get them good. All right, police detective, trigger happy, and reflexes. I guess he could use, it works out the same way, just his number of dice, but he's going to tap into his wired reflexes. He's going to amp himself up. He's been doing it anyway, but now he's amping himself up. So instead of using police detective, he's using wired and then his reflexes, and then he's pulling his trigger happy from the other side, and he's got his armor, not armored coat, but he's got his explosive rounds, and he's going to use accurate because he's trying to get good shots off as his sights are flipping back and forth. But they're firing back, and they've still got their machine guns, and I'm going to give them a die for outnumbering and for just peppering the whole area with machine gun bullets. The whole server room. The alarms are starting to go off in the building and things like that. Let's see if he's trying to blow someone's head off. See if he can get some action done there. Okay. Oh man, those guys are doing pretty good. Nope. All right, so he's trying to do his wired reflexes, but he's just a little too slow. He's instead of just laying down fire like he was before, he's trying to be more accurate, and it was the wrong move. Wrong move this time. Let's see. Does he take a hit? Yeah, I'm gonna say he takes a hit. He takes a hit. He thinks he thinks the other guy's coming out, and he gets ready to shoot his head, and then fire comes from from the side. He's been outflanked. Let's see. Gosh, I don't remember if that was his turn or their turn or what. Dang, I forgot who was who. Let's see. That was him attacking, but was it the end of the round? Well, we'll just roll initiative again. because he got shot, so it's not like he's getting, it's not like he's taking advantage of them. All right, 3. So they have it. They're going to keep moving in, and you know, I think this time they're going to try to bum rush him. So they're rushing. They're fighters. They've got that, and they've got their cyber claws come out, and he tries to roll away, and he just comes up firing. So um, he's got armored. He's going to use his explosive rounds, like he should have before, wired, and then reflexes. And since he is trying to just lay down fire, I'm going to give him a trigger happy out of out of desperation. I probably should have kept that one, but I wasn't sure. Alright, so they've got a 6. They wipe out the 1 5. Okay, so he's got a 5. So another one. So he gets another hit. 1 comes around and he manages to he lays him down. He puts 2 explosive rounds into his chest and then 1 into his face plate, and he goes flying back screaming. But this guy has got him tackled. So now it's melee. Now it's mano a mano, and he's not really all that great at that. Set you over there. And that was them. So now it's his turn. He's going to, because he's got a pistol, he's still going to try to keep it going. He's going to try to keep do that. He's going to try to grab that guy, use his reflexes, and jam that pistol in his face as best he can. So wired, reflexes, trigger happy, explosive rounds. I'm not going to give him a bonus for accurate this time because they're rolling around too much. And it's we got 2 stump points left. I might ought to think about using one of those if this roll goes bad. This guy's he's a warrior. He's got cyber strength, and he's got like some kind of cyber claws that have popped out of his arms. And he did get the advantage on him. So I'm gonna give him a total of 4 dice, and that's part of the narrative part 2. It might seem like it would get confusing, but you know, these things change, and so what kind of bonus you assign or what you apply, uh, you know, just changes because it is kind of an art and it's a story, right? So even if Tat totally gets wiped out, he doesn't necessarily have to get killed. He can have these negative tags applied that will affect him in narration, which is just as important as affecting them mechanically. And that's something that I sometimes have a hard time wrapping my mind around too. Okay. Good grief. These negative dice are killing me. Okay. Alright, another fail. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say he's got him restrained. Let's see. Alright, so Tat tries to get that in there, but he can't. His hand keeps getting knocked away, and in fact, the mercenary knocks his heavy pistol out of his hand. It goes skittering across the ground, and he wraps him up. He tangles him up, and he's got him on the ground, and he's trying to put his claws into Tat's face. Next phase, next turn. All right, at least Tat gets to go, and I forgot about my stunt points. I should have rolled the stunt points. All right. Well, he's going to try to get himself clear while defending himself from that. So we'll say wired in the reflexes. He can't use trigger happy right now because he doesn't really have his gun. Let's see. Oof. Yeah. So he doesn't have a whole lot, and he's restrained, so that's going to give him an extra penalty. Let's see. So he's trying to get his service pistol out while he's fighting. So that's wired reflexes, trigger happy. Yeah, he's found himself suddenly in a bad way. And he's going to try to his armored trench coat. He's going to try to use that to try to fend off the stuff. And he's going to use one stun point there. The bad guy, he's a fighter, cyber, he's on top, and he's got the weapons. So we're going to go 1 for 1 as Tat. He's basically trying to get his other gun and shoot this dude while he's on top, but he's having a time of it. Ha! I'm going to say, goodness gracious. Alright, so he's got, it'd be nice to get a boon. Alright, so it boils down to Tat got 2 6s. This guy canceled 1. But that left Tat with a 6. And as a threat, I assigned them the whole group of mercenaries, the 3 of them. I assigned them as 5 hits to make them tough because they're tough mercenaries. They're armored, they're cybered up, but over the course of that whole shootout, which was actually, well, for me anyway, it was pretty fun. But with this 6, Tat manages to tangle up the guy's blades underneath his armored trench coat just long enough to pull out his old service pistol that he got 20 years ago or whatever when he got out of the academy and has had to carry ever since. A good, trusty, but not a very sexy pistol, but it works, and he puts it up to one of those cyber eyes, and boom! And he blows that mercenary backwards off in a spray of blood and gore that splatters on the server room. Stunned, he looks around, and he's no longer restrained, so I'm going to remove that. He looks around with his gun, scanning for threats. No more mercenaries have come. But he sees this face on one of the screens staring at him like this digitized Max Headroom kind of guy. Just because I like Max Headroom. And he's doing a slow golf clap. And he knows right away that this is Hisham, the AI. Very good. You've tracked it down. And the lights are pulsing as he talks, and the doors are locked. Apparently, no one else can get in. The whole center is locked down. I've lost my data connection. I cannot get the file that you came here for. So very good, detective. But I know who you are. And I know what you've done. and appeasing Warren Falstaff is not going to help. I'll be seeing you. And then the AI disappears. Um, if my guy, if Tat were a hacker, maybe I would have tried to do some kind of cyberpunk, grid battle, but he's not. Uh, and as soon as the alarms came down, the file got the data connections got severed. We'll say mostly to start wrapping things up. He looks around, sees no one else, sees it's locked. Looks at. He goes over to the security lady. She has been hit. Is she still alive? I'm gonna give even odds that she's still alive. She probably had some cool corpo armored jacket or something, and she seemed like kind of a tough broad. So even chances. Pulling my tarot card. Ah, no. She is dying. I'm going to give him a chance. I'm just going to give him a chance to try to um, so to help her out. Police detective, and maybe there's something in his forensics kit, something, and then I'm going to apply 2 dice because she shot all to hell. As he runs over and he tries to apply first aid to keep her from bleeding out, she's like, let's see if he can get anywhere. Look at that. Okay, so he manages to stabilize her with a 5. He doesn't. He manages to stabilize her. Doesn't know if she'll live through the night, but she's not bleeding out right there. Sooner or later, the security lockdown comes in. The people, there are more guards come in, but these are apparently regular security of Bile Towers, and they help her out. They watch the footage, or they've actually kind of been watching the footage, so they know that those 3 came in and he was fighting with her. And he's going to use his credentials to get the file. How exactly he explains that, I don't know. We'll say it's some kind of cyber cop thing. He's able to identify it with some kind of information that he got from Ice Girl back in scene 1. Okay. He gets the file. One of the other security experts from Bile Towers scans the file directory and downloads everything. Make sure that the file's in good shape and isn't copied, that he knows of anyway. If it's there, I would think in reality, they're probably, if that AI wanted it, it would be copied all over the place. But for the sake of this story and wrapping things up, he gets the file, downloads it into his headset or flash drive or something like that. And because I want him to, he's going to use a stunt point to get his damn flying car. He's going to get a flying car. And he's going to take it to Warren Falstaff's rich uppity tower, and he's going to fly around, get his clearance. This is Detective. I can't even remember. This is Detective Nakoksana coming in for landing. Here to speak, Warren Falstaff. Have an appointment with Warren Falstaff. And so he lands, and he is escorted into Warren Falstaff's elegant, 79th story manor, and presents the information. All right. Now that is pretty much the end of the campaign, and it's the end of this character's campaign, this character's arc. So we're going to go to the drive and see how that works. All right, so now just to kind of run through it for myself, because I may use this character in my own solo gaming carrying on, but um, this is where he's getting out. All right, this is his final in a campaign. This final, impressing Wallstaff would be after running several missions and uh, gaining little bits here and there. Anyway, you would continue on and go through different missions, and you'd find little clues here and there. You might screw up some encounters, and the way that the track works is at the end when you get to that retirement track, you're supposed to fill it up. Retirement check uses a drive track to resolve. Create a dice pool equal to the ticks on the drive track and equal to the unticked boxes. Okay, no other modifiers apply. So in essence, you could really just do this kind of one-shot thing. And so just to, and you can do different things that will end up, instead of allowing you to get the dice, then you would lose dice. So in this case, we'll say that he did. Now, you're supposed to put crosses in this box to show that you messed it up, but that seems kind of, I don't know, I maybe would have picked a different symbol, since plus in other places means plus, um, unless I'm misreading that. Yeah, it's use plus dice equal to the ticks, and then minus equal to the unticked boxes. Okay, including any that have been crossed off. So in this case, say I was being very generous and gave myself 2 X's for, or well, let's say even 3 X's. Those are good ticks. 3 X's for finding out who it was, or to getting the file, beating the AI, and all that stuff. So I would have 3 plus dice, and then 7 negative dice. Now you could do that. I mean, you could make that roll. Let's see what happens. Get some more. Get my negative dice here. Next time I'll have to get some more of my regular white dice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So it's not only that, but you can also X out, like it says, put the minus signs. You can get minus dice for like screwing stuff up. Right. So we'll say just to give it a roll here. Okay, so 2, so the 5s get canceled out. All right, so he has a 4. So in this case, with all that, he gets a 4. And that gives us a 4-5. You achieve your drive, but it costs you something. Describe the compromise you make or the cost you pay to finally achieve your goal. Describe what becomes of the character. So we'll say in this case, which it's not something that I would normally risk, a 3 versus 7 roll, but we'll take it. He impresses Wallstaff enough that he is able to get out of the police department, and Wallstaff, in gratitude, gives him a little place in a more upscale part of the Metroplex. And he doesn't have to work with the police, and no charges will ever be filed to him for his corruption. But I still do have that file, detective. And I think having someone like you in my pocket from time to time might be helpful. What do you think about that arrangement? And having no choice, oh, poor Tat finds himself out of the police department, but not off the streets. And uh, Warren Falstaff uses him and occasionally abuses him until he drinks himself to an early grave. Because as time goes on, Falstaff's demands get more and more uh, egregious, more and more often, and more dangerous. But he knows that Falstaff isn't someone that he can cross, and so he spends his life drinking away his latter years until he's no longer capable of being used to Falstaff anymore, and Falstaff kicks him out onto the street. And then not even the AI will help him at that point. In fact, the AI torments him for reminds him in what he's got left of his grid connection. In every display he sees, the Hisham pops up constantly saying, I told you. Yeah. Do you like that puddle of piss that you're laying in there, detective? I told you. Good night, detective. I hope you stay warm. But the detective does not stay warm. And Neon City eats up uh, another person. And that's the end of the story. And I will use that. I had a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope maybe it gives you an idea of how Neon City Overdrive works. And I hope I did it. If there's something that I did wrong, please point it out, because I'll be playing this again and again because I really like it. It's very simple. I'm going to do a quick wind up review, but that'll be on a separate video, so you don't have to watch it. But thanks for watching, and have a good evening.